Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and today I am joined by my best friend, RPG Heels.
Thanks for having me again.
And we are once again talking about difficulty in the Souls series. Let's check it out. All right. Well, guys, we are talking about difficulty in the Souls series. So, last episode we talked about the order we played in, and they say typically the first Souls game you play is always the hardest, but that's actually not so much the case for me.
Yeah,
but what about
I don't
you?
agree with that either. Putting them in order. Again, I've only played
Right.
3, and then if you count Star Wars. But not counting that one, I would go. We're going hardest first, right? Or
Let's do easiest to hardest.
Easiest.
Yeah.
I would say easiest, sadly, to me probably be Demon Souls.
Right. Okay.
Still fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would be Dark Souls 1, and then Dark Souls 3.
Right. And I think, it, like you said, it is good to preface that when we say something is the easiest, we're talking about Souls games. So it's like, you know, which is more painful, your leg cut off or your foot?
Yeah.
You tell me.
And don't get me
You know,
wrong, I still died a plenty in Demon
Right.
Souls. It's not
Right.
like I went through
Right.
and didn't. I just thought the bosses were a little easier.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. They're kind of gimmicky in a way,
Right.
where if you figure out the gimmick, it becomes easy.
Yeah.
If you don't know the gimmick, then it can be a bad time.
Yeah, it can be definitely a bad time.
Like Dragon God, I died because I didn't know what to do. I died a lot.
16, 20, yeah. Same here. So I'll go ahead and share my difficulty order, and then we can just talk about why we think each one's the most easy or harder. So for me, I started with Bloodborne. I actually think the easiest Souls game, I will agree with you, is Demon Souls. However, like you said, that does not inflect on which is my favorite. However, Demon Souls is a little gimmicky, and it's not as punishing, which I actually loved. But like you said, whether it be a boss, an enemy, or an area, once you figure out that thing, it's really not that bad.
And there's enemies in Demon Souls that'll, if you screw it up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're straight up just,
So.
We'll talk about them probably in a little bit, but Mind Flayers. They might be some of the hardest in these series.
I'd agree.
But, so Demon Souls is definitely the less painful one of all of them. My next, because I have played them all, I think the next in the difficulty spectrum is probably going to be Dark Souls for me. Dark Souls 1. And I say that because I just feel like that slow, methodical combat was so fun for me. It clicked for me. But, you know, with a few exceptions of like the first time you go to Blighttown, obviously it's painful.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
The first time you're in Lost Izalith, yes, it's obviously difficult. But I just kind of feel like, on the whole, some of the other games leave a more, like, impact on difficulty. After that, I would give it to Dark Souls 3. I think Dark Souls 3 was a very great game, but difficulty-wise, it definitely has some tough bosses, which we'll talk about in a little bit. After that, I would give it to Bloodborne. I think Bloodborne is like the good medium difficulty, and we can talk about this in more detail, but I think boss-wise and mob-wise, it is well-rounded in difficulty. After that, I would give it to Dark Souls 2. Mostly because I think Dark Souls 2 has, without question, the hardest non-boss sections of any game I've probably ever played. I mean, that might be a little much, but like Dark Souls 2 is rough. For other reasons we can talk about in a bit. But then I think the hardest is probably Sekiro. And I say that because Sekiro's mini bosses and bosses are just brutal at times. It switches up the combat formula, so all these things you had picked up from Bloodborne and the Souls series, throw that out the window. We're parrying now, you know. So that's kind of my ranking on it. So you said, for starters, that the most difficult one
was 3.
3.
And I'll give an asterisk to Dark Souls 1's DLC.
Oh, yeah.
What's to do with the sword?
Artorias.
Artorias was, to me, you could tell that was like, this is what Dark Souls 3 is going to be like, get ready.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that jump from Dark Souls 1, skipping 2, going straight into 3, like the first thing that comes at you, like some skeleton or whatever,
Right.
like he's just swinging.
Yeah.
Like fast.
Yeah.
I'm like,
right
whoa,
there
you're
in
not,
the untended graveyard or
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm like, well, this isn't Dark Souls 1. Like,
Right,
this isn't,
right.
he'll slowly hobble to me and I'll block and
Yeah,
be good to go.
and-
Like, he was.
And I think that with the difficulty of the Souls series, I will always gravitate towards Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls for that kind of methodical
Right.
inching forward. But with Bloodborne, you can definitely see, and especially with Dark Souls DLC, is they were going towards that Bloodborne. You're going to dodge now because I think one of the absolute hardest bosses in the entire series is in the first Dark Souls, and that's Calamite. I mean, you're not blocking your way through it. At least I couldn't with my build.
I could walk through the fire,
Yeah.
but that was about it. Like,
Yeah,
you're not
and-
blocking, and even that, you're not. If you don't time it right, you might as well
Yeah.
forget it. Like, it's better to run through it at that point.
And then
dodge
he
through
has,
it.
he has an absurd amount of health. He is not slow. I mean, he's always doing something.
And his toolkit is just.
And
It's just-
honestly, that kind of aura he can hit you with, where he lifts you up. If he hits you with that and
Oh,
you
yeah.
take like double damage,
Yeah.
it's brutal. That's probably, I would rank him in top, for sure, top 5 hardest bosses in the whole series.
Because I ended up counting him because I didn't actually finish. Now think about it. I did all the bosses in DLC before I did the last boss of Dark Souls 1.
Oh, okay.
So when I fought him, and it was like, oh, okay.
Oh, Manus.
Yeah, you parry him 3 times, and you're
Yeah.
kind of done.
Oh, you mean Gwen.
Gwen, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought you meant Manus. Though.
So Calamite to me he's the last boss of Dark Souls.
Calamite
1.
is the true final boss of Dark Souls 1, for sure. Dark Souls 3, obviously, it kind of depends on when you ask me which one I think is hardest. I think boss-wise, out of the whole series, big shout out to Sekiro. Sekiro has shockingly difficult bosses for me. Ishin, the Divine Sword Saint. But from Dark Souls 3, you obviously have some super heavy hitters. Honorable or dishonorable mentions, however you want to look at it. Nameless King,
Yeah.
for sure. I struggled a lot with the Lothric princes, the two brothers.
Oh, the 2 brothers.
I always kind of struggle with that fight. I thought Dancer was tough, but it wasn't a roadblock for me.
Dancer was. At first glance, it didn't seem like it was going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Then halfway through, it got hard.
She goes super.
But
sick.
again, it didn't take me. I died less on her than I
Right.
did a lot of the other ones. Or him, whatever it is.
Another one in the base game of 3 is Pontiff Sullivan.
Oh yeah.
God, dude, that dude kicked my butt.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I thought he was definitely a shout out. And again, with Dark Souls 3, it's so much faster pace, and that's something that just kind of always sticks with me from that game. Is like, if you play Dark Souls 3 after playing Dark Souls 1 or 2, even because even 2 had a methodical approach.
Gotcha.
You know, with all of my gripes about Dark Souls 2, and I'll talk about why I think it's so difficult here in a second, it does play in the same kind of rhythm of Dark Souls 1.
Gotcha,
So that is, I would say, it's fun to play. Try it.
I'm going to because I want to get through them all.
Yeah.
Bloodborne's on PS
I think
now, so
definitely play Bloodborne
PlayStation
before
Plus,
too.
So I'll end up trying to get
Right.
through that one next probably.
Yeah. So with Dark Souls 3, you definitely see this kind of fully evolving of the Dark Souls kind of increased tempo to combat, because obviously Miyazaki and Nomura weren't as heavily involved with 2 as they were. So I kind of viewed their progression of gameplay mechanics from, like, you have Souls 1, Bloodborne,
Right.
where it's much faster paced. You're encouraged with the regenerating your health mechanic to get right back into combat. And then with 3 is a fast game.
Yeah, they took the base of Dark Souls 1 and its environments and
Right.
still kind of slow movement,
Yeah.
but then took combat nods from
Right.
Bloodborne, and we get the child that is Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. I love Dark
Yeah.
Souls 3. Like
And Danik wasn't able to be here today, but I was having a conversation with him the other day about how why we love Demon Souls and Dark Souls so much is that combat pacing. And Dark Souls 3, I think, and this is going to be heresy, I'm preparing for a flood of hatred, but Dark Souls 3 is almost too fast for me. I know that's weird.
It's jarring. Like I said, especially when you go from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 3, when the only fast boss in that one is Artorias.
Yeah.
Really, to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Calamite goes all over the place, but he's not a dude swinging at you.
Artorias is hyper-aggression.
So he's in your face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's,
yeah.
You know.
And if he's not in your face, he's charging an AoE that's about to kill you.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah, so you need to be up on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. Dark Souls 3 pushes that line.
And we were talking about it, and we think it was probably weapon arts were fine. I want to say that weapon arts, hitting that, it added an extra layer of complexity. I think it's cool. It makes PvP videos fun to watch. It almost felt like borderline change for the sake of change, though.
And they didn't really, which is Souls in general, they don't like to tell you things. So they didn't really tell you a lot about weapon.
Right.
So you guys mentioned it. I was like 90% of the way through the game. So you guys mentioned weapon things, and I looked at our
weapon arts.
And I'm like, weapon arts?
Yeah, guys, weapon arts. Let me hold that thought.
I'm like, well, I'm almost done now, so we're just going to go with what I have.
I mean, and honestly, though, but the thing about weapon arts is typically, unless you're PvPing, there's a limited amount of resources. At least you've been trained to think that. So you typically just pick one, maybe two weapons, and you use those for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's
depending on what you start with.
Yeah.
Like in Demon Souls, I had the same sword the whole game.
Right.
Like I upgraded it.
Oh,
as far as like getting it upgraded.
Oh,
at the
very
blacksmith,
true. Yeah.
But I didn't switch it.
Did you start as a knight?
Nice. Yeah, so I had the long sword, and I had the long sword the whole game.
That's awesome.
Now the shield I swapped out.
Yeah.
But then once I swapped it, I didn't swap it again.
Right.
Right.
So I do want to explain why I think Dark Souls 2 is ranked so highly for me, because if we were just talking about hardest bosses, I would put Dark Souls 2 at the bottom. I think that there are a few bosses in Dark Souls 2 that are tough. Big shout outs to the Fume Knight, Smelter Demon. Yes, Smelter Demon, blue, red, however many colors he had. He was hard for me every time. But in general, of the 40 bosses that are in that game with DLC, I'm not necessarily exaggerating there. They're just mostly throwaway. The problem with Dark Souls 2 is that it looked at what sold from Dark Souls 1. I feel like I'm not an industry insider, but it feels like they sat some developers down and said, what do people like a lot about Dark Souls 1? Well, they loved that it was so difficult. Well, let's turn that crap up to 10.
Yeah, then it became difficult. From what I've heard, again, I haven't played it, but I've heard it's difficult for the sake of being difficult.
It is the most out to get you.
I heard it's very trolly with where enemies are placed.
Right.
I'm not saying the rest of them don't do that, but I've heard it's
there's
overly
a gank.
abundant.
There is literally, it feels like there's a gank around every corner in Dark Souls 2. The fall damage is absurd. I mean, I'll be honest, something that you wouldn't think should kill you will kill you. You'll take a lot of damage, and and also you landed near a gank, so now you're gonna die. There is a lot. Now, I will say this: when I initially played Dark Souls 2, if I was asked, "Did you like it?" I would probably say not as much as the other ones. However, I did put 140 hours into it, so I mean, I didn't hate it. I still think it's a great game. I think if you're into PvP, Dark Souls 2 may be the best. There's a ton of weapon diversity. The Fashion Souls in 2 is very nice. Very cool. And it has some cool locations. The lore is pretty good. Majula, the hub world, or hub area, I think it's great. You can warp right from the beginning, so it kind of went back to the Demon Souls portion. But I do think that Dark Souls 2 just went a little too far in the trolley category.
And that's what happens when it's not the same person directing it, because they were what, making Bloodborne.
They were making Bloodborne at the time.
FromSoft made that, and so Miyazaki, not Miyazaki, what's his name?
Yeah,
Is it Miyazaki? Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking Studio Ghibli, which is also the same person, same name, I think.
Right.
But yeah, I think a different team made it, and they looked at what they thought people liked about it. Almost like they did a quick Google search, and the results were, Dark Souls equals
it's going to kill you, yeah.
And just ran with it, and
Yeah, and I feel like there's more bosses. Like when you walk into Capra Demon, from Dark Souls 1. It's like, how am I supposed to live through that? Like,
Right.
there's no way you're walking through that fog gate for the first time and coming out alive, you know?
Oh, exactly.
With Capra Demon from Dark Souls 1. And I feel like in Dark Souls 2, it's that feeling a lot,
every one of
you know? Not every one of them, but it just feels like, holy moly. But, and then I think, just a quick note, Sekiro, with the parry mechanic, Sekiro just, by the end, it was tough. I mean, Ishin, the Divine Sword Saint, Demon of Hatred, the Guardian Ape, he throws poop at you.
Oh.
None of them are easy.
So it's realistic.
Yes, yes, very much so. I think Sekiro is a gorgeous game. I have mixed feelings about Sekiro. And we'll discuss that later on. I think Sekiro may be one of the best for a single playthrough, but it is brutally hard. But the non-boss areas are a joke. Like, not a joke. Compared to the other series, in the series, it's just not hard. You can stealth kill most anything. You can even get a stealth hit on some bosses if you play your cards right. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the difficulty. I love Dark Souls. There's obviously some tough ones there. And again, with Demon Souls, like we discussed, I think if you know, once you figure out the gimmick, you're home free, you know?
Yeah, I think if you look at Flame Lurker, I think, okay, you can look at Flame Lurker and say, this belongs in a Dark Souls.
Yes, yeah.
Because he's faster, he's all over the place.
Right.
He can wreck you pretty fast if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see him as being a nod to what may come in a future game.
Yes.
Even the last boss, King
of Land.
King of Land, his mechanics, where he can attack from far away, he can attack from up close.
Oh my gosh.
He feels like a boss that you'll fight later on.
And he can close that distance super quick.
And dodge that soul level
Did
thing.
he get you with it?
Like 4 times.
Oh my gosh. That is brutal.
I kept misjudging the distance.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he got me several times with that.
Danik messaged me. He's like, there's going to be an ability. It's going to be pretty telegraphed. Spare yourself a lot of rage and avoid that ability. So I went into it like every time he moved, I was like, get away from me. No. What are you going to do? So, yeah.
But yeah, so when he did it and it came up and it said what it was, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Like, okay, hold on.
Like,
it's one thing to kill me.
I'm
but
glad I farmed some levels on that Reaper. And,
oh my gosh.
So,
yeah. That, and doesn't that just kind of feel like an old, like, D&D type of thing to do to you? Like,
oh, it does.
Yeah, it's just
like,
kind of a different age.
I was like, wow, this is like Final Fantasy 11 all over again. I just
Oh
D-leveled.
my gosh, right.
But yeah, you can see those 2 fights out of all of them and be like, okay, these 2 are, like I said, like a nod to what's going to come in the future games.
Very true.
I mean, we played the remake, so it was after that. But looking at it, if you would have played it new on the PS3.
Mm-hmm. Right. But thank you so much for watching. Let us know down in the comments how big of scrubs we are and what your favorites and hardest enemy zones. You know the drill. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so we can keep hanging out in the future. And we'll see you guys next time.